I've lived 1,000 lives. I've piloted 1,000 souls. I've killed and fought and died just for another role.
This is the Happy Jacks RPG podcast, a roundtable discussion that's a mix of friendship, humor, unbridled enthusiasm, and tabletop RPG topics sent in from around the world.
Just for another role.
Hello! Welcome to Season 33, Episode 7 of the Happy Jacks RPG podcast. My name is Kimmy.
I'm Clara.
I'm Ingy.
And I'm Courtney.
In today's episode, our topic is, what was it about your first time playing an RPG, a TTRPG specifically, that made you want to do it again? So that should be a fun conversation. I can't wait to hear everybody's answers. Think about that now. And then we have emails. The first one is from Captain Kurt in Alaska. And he asks what a new player should experience in their first session. Obviously, our topic was somewhat inspired by that email. And then Rose needs advice on having ADHD and staying engaged at the table, or virtually also. If you'd like to contribute a question or story to the show, you can email us at happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. That's happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. Please send us emails. We need them.
Do it.
We like that. The
We
show
like
runs on
them.
emails.
Yes, they do. It does. We're low on gas. We're running on fumes. Please send emails. Announcements. Game Days was yesterday, Saturday, January 13th, and it was an amazing success.
Yay!
Woo! I think there were like 11 games that were put up, and almost all of them filled. It was great. Everyone had a really wonderful time. We had a whole bunch of new people from on the Discord playing, and just a wonderful, great experience. Thank you to everyone who ran games, especially, and thank you also to everyone who came and played in games. Incredible stuff. Everything from like very traditional games to like there was one that was like, let's design a game together.
I saw that.
Yeah, so it's
What's
like
happening
we have
there?
this huge gradient of like old school traditional gaming to like the weirdest stuff in the new like storytelling. It's pretty amazing, and it's so great that our community has like all the flavors of gamer, and they all get along together. It's like so happy. And the next one will be in March. So if you join the Discord, we'll probably in the next week or two vote on what day of March, which Saturday we will have the next game days. So if you want to play, go vote. So that way we pick a day that's good for you.
Oh,
Yep. Also, OrcCon is coming up. It is February 16th through 19th at the beautiful Hilton LAX. It's beautiful. The Hilton at LAX. The airport.
I sense a little bit of sarcasm.
I mean,
in that
it's
voice.
not good. But
it's beautiful.
Well, you'll be there,
It's
and
great.
that's what
It's-
matters.
yeah.
Fine. It's super
the event
good.
is amazing. So come. It's run by the Strategicon Conventions. They have 3 a year. We always go to them. We'll be doing our live shows Saturday nights. We'll be a little drinky. We'll have a live studio audience telling stories about the games we ran, all that stuff. Very fun. What? You look like you're about to say something.
No, I'll tell you later.
Okay. Yeah, and if you...
I think it's about getting drinky.
It's about getting drinky.
Yeah, definitely
It's
is.
about Kadave and getting drinky.
Yeah, he does that.
I've been drinky with today.
Yeah. So if you want to come, you can go to strategicon.net, I think. And you can buy passes, things. If you're flying in, the airport's right there. It's literally right there. And you can play in games and games that are run by Happy Jack's crew. So I'll be running games. Hopefully many other people will be running games. It'll be fun.
What if I ran a game this year?
Do it! Run a game.
It'll be bad.
My very first
Run a game.
Yeah, my very first jamming experience was at Strategicon. Like,
That was,
Damn.
yeah.
yes.
I don't do things by halves. I jump in the deep end. I'm like, I can do this.
Yeah.
That
And-
was
yeah.
the first time I ever GM'd at a convention was at Strategicon.
Yeah.
Um,
It's great.
Yeah.
It's a super and if you're nervous about like signing up for games, there's a really amazing Games on Demand section now that's run by a friend of the show, Tomes. I mean, he's really on the show, but he's not on the show very often anymore. But yeah, there's a whole
still
great
a
thing.
friend, whether he likes it or not.
Total
Yeah,
friend.
that's-
Hangs out with us.
Blood in, blood out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Big hugs every time we see him. Yeah, so come join us at the Hilton LAX, and it's really not a bad hotel. It's a fine hotel.
It's great. I don't know. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's
I was
Great.
gonna
But
say-
the con is what's worth going
yeah, the
for.
con is amazing.
Mhm.
So, yeah. All right. Indie Designer of the Month. We have Christopher Gray, a.k.a. Sundered Scriptorium. And you can find all his games at sunderedhold.com. That's sunderedhold.com. And this week we're talking about Highcaster. Last week we talked about Dungeon Caster, which is the system that he's designed. Highcaster is a game in the Dungeon Caster system with a world that he is like written out and fleshed out in a whole bunch of ways. So, in Highcaster, the gods fell from the night sky, destroying civilization and cutting the realm off from divinity. Centuries later, civilizations are emerging once again, even as magical corruption spreads. It is now a time of heroes who are destined to forge a new Highcaster. It's a new fantasy TTRPG rule set using Dungeon Caster, which we talked about last week. And you play as one of 7 cultures. And then there's 9 heritages, which are kind of what he's using instead of like species. And then those 9 heritages can be found in all 7 of the cultures. So you're not finding a fantasy world where it's like, this is the elf culture and this is the dwarf culture. So like the different heritages are spread throughout. So you can be one of those and any culture you want, which I love.
Nice.
Also, you can play as a unicorn,
Oh.
which I love.
Got our attention.
Mhm.
Any special interest?
Yes,
Right.
like the first time I looked at the art in the front of this, I was like, oh my gosh, look at, there's such a cool unicorn, that's so neat. He's like, Kimmy, you can be a unicorn. I was like, what?
have
He's
this
like,
game.
I literally put that in there for you. I was like, I love it. I don't know if he was really serious or if he was just telling me that because I wanted to hear that, but
No, I want to play.
I want to play unicorn too. We should have an all
An
unicorn
all
Highcaster.
unicorn game. I have Highcaster.
100%.
I have not had the chance to really go through it because a lot of people kickstart their books all at once and then you
Yeah.
get them all at once for some reason.
Oh
I'm
my-
looking at all of my friends who write books now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I own so many TTRPGs, and there's so many I still have not read because there's so many of them. But yes, so you can get it for $19.99 at drive-thru or at sunderedhold.com. But there are lots of freebies too if you want to go check it out. There's some like pre-gens you can look at and things like that if you want to think about it before you make your purchase. And yeah, that's sunderedhold.com. And again, that is Highcaster.
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 Highcaster. Okay. We all did weird voices. You have to do weird voices.
Highcaster.
Okay, good. Well done. Good job.
Close enough.
Like a fart, like a question.
All right. Amazing. All right. Topic for this week. What was the first TTRPG that you ever played, and what part of that first session experience, or maybe it wasn't the first one, maybe you hated the first one, you liked one later, what part of that first experience made you want to do it again? My favorite part of these topics are that you don't know them until you guys show up.
Mhm.
And it's just like, ha! On the spot. Pop quiz. Tell me
Talked
about a
about this
meaningful
a lot,
moment.
Oh, me to start? All right, sure. Yeah, I'll start. My very first TTRPG experience, I think I was like 12 or 13. And my older sister was playing with her boyfriend and a couple of other friends. And I hated it. I was bored and I didn't understand what was going on. A few years later, a friend of mine says, hey, come over. We'll try D&D. It was like 3 of us. Again, I was bored and I hated it. And the only thing I remember is that my friend made me hot chocolate by just like turning the sink tap to hot and then put that and I was like, this is awful. That's how bad of experience that was. So for me, my first
It's a miracle you're here.
I know. Yes. Absolute miracle. My first positive experience came in college because I used to be like, no, I hate tabletop RPGs. I hate D&D. It's boring. And then a bunch of friends of mine in college I kept hearing them talk about a game that they were playing, and it was based on the anime Slayers. Well, I also happen to hate Slayers. I'm like, this sounds terrible.
Oh,
But I
no.
kept hearing about how much fun they were having, and they were telling the stories and these adventures. So I was like, can I try? Can I play? So I ended up making like a barbarian chef who like fought with an enchanted wok and a cleaver, and it was just crazy. And that's how like I met my boyfriend at the time, was through that group. And I don't know what it was. There was just something very fun and silly, but there was still like danger and adventure. And after that first experience with the group, like I kept playing with those guys for the next couple of years, and I've been hooked ever since.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
They canceled each other out.
They did.
Yes.
Yes.
Do you want to go?
I have a couple dumb like first TTR. My parents do not know where I got the knowledge of Dungeons and Dragons. Only that like I had bardic knowledge of Dungeons and Dragons, and I was in 2nd grade, and I was at a sleepover with all of my friends, and there were like 12 little girls, and I made them play Dungeons and Dragons. I did not know how this game worked, but I did.
Yes.
I knew I needed graph paper, and I knew there were dice involved. That is technically the first time I played D&D. A TTRPG.
Amazing.
I made it up.
That's
Yeah,
how
that's
I
my
DM'd
indie
my
cred.
first time too.
Yeah.
On
Was-
brand for you.
Because I had looked at all the books and tried to read them, but like those first edition D&D books are like indecipherable, especially for like somebody who's in grade school. And I'm like, well, I want to do this anyway. And so I just started, I was like, roll a D20. And they were like 13. And I'm like, fuck, it sounds good.
Yeah, that's exactly how I did it. No, it was peak. Like that sign can't stop me. I can't read. But no, I later got into it. In about 3rd grade, the parents of the kid who had the sleepover was like, we should actually teach them how to play D&D. And
Good parents.
one of the teachers at the school, at my elementary school, was like, yeah, let's get a little party together. And so he like walked us through 3.5. My first character was a surprising no one half-elf druid, because at the time you could still have animal companions. So I had a wolf. It was peak anime. It was peak magical girl. I did play that character through high school. In that for a while, dropped it, and then the second half of the soundbite I give to everyone is that I dropped it for a couple of years, and then my senior year of high school is really into this guy, and he and his friends played D&D, and I was like, I'll fucking learn. They're like, oh yeah, our GM doesn't want to GM anymore. I was like, I'll do it. I used to play D&D, I can do it. I owned every 4th edition book because I used to work at Barnes & Noble, and
Oh yeah.
I learned to run, and it did not work. That person no longer knows I exist, I think. I super hope so. I don't even know if we're friends on Facebook. But like, yeah, truly just got back into it to impress a boy. Did not work. Does actually work though. I will say, like, if you're trying to be a fake gamer girl, do it. Eventually it does work.
Fake it till you make it.
Fake it till you make it. It's also like you might get a fun hobby.
You reminded me of a story.
Oh no.
It's slightly off topic, but I have to share it.
That's fine.
Speaking of 4th edition and impressing a boy. So I never played 4th edition. I played 3 and 3.5 for a while, and then I went straight to 5. But I tried online dating for a while. I hated it. I hate doing this.
Terrible.
I like where this is going.
Oh, just wait till you get to the punchline. So this guy hits me up, and we go out and we have lunch, and he plays D&D. So I'm asking about stuff, and he's telling me about 4th edition, which I've never played. I felt the whole time like I was interviewing him, and I realized like he never asked anything about me. And by the end of this lunch date, I was like, wow, this guy's so not into me in the slightest. Oh, well, we became friends. That man was Matthew Mercer.
Oh, wow.
That's amazing.
Yep. We're still pals. I worked on Crit Roll for 3 years after that. It was cool.
Yeah.
But that was like my delightfully awkward lunch date with Matt Mercer. Just me asking about 4th edition.
Okay, that's a rough. Listen, 4th edition's rough to get anyone happy.
That's true. It is true.
Yeah. 4th edition is apparently not really impressive enough to get people together, so now we know.
It's fine.
You get bogged down in that combat.
Peer reviewed.
That's
Although
what I hear.
I will say I do like 4th edition for
Yeah, I do.
side reasons.
Yeah, I never played it.
It really comes into its own as a battle game.
Yeah.
That's what I hear. Well, I hear it was made to be coupled with this VTT, and they never released the VTT, so
It was very like MMO, like like friendly. So if you knew about MMOs, then it was super easy to log in.
And I liked the things that they have in there,
Yeah.
like you've got tanks. I like controllers. Like I'm
Oh,
like, oh my god!
I
Like,
loved the way they divided those.
Yeah.
Like, I still think of it in those terms.
Yeah,
It's bad.
me too. And I'm always like creating an encounter, and I'm like, I need a controller for this. That's
Yeah.
the coolest thing.
Like, how do I balance this? Do you need a leader?
Yeah.
I have
Like-
no idea what these people are talking about because I've never played 4th edition.
If you like
It's
combat.
really World of Warcraft that we're
Okay.
talking about. That's what we're
Sorry, I played Final Fantasy 11. I don't know why.
Oh man. Okay, so I played tabletop RPGs a few times, but not like it never actually worked well. Like middle school, and then
Stuck.
yeah, and then I got really into like World of Warcraft and MMOs. So why would I play tabletop RPGs? Until this guy named Stu was like, hey, we'd been talking about games and stuff at the Renaissance Fair for a really long time, and there's nothing else to do between shows but sit in chairs behind the stage and talk about stuff. So
And
we
also drink.
and drink. Well, drinking and talking at the same time. Those are not mutually exclusive
Yeah,
activities.
We can do both at the same time.
Technically, I'm not.
Yeah.
As this podcast
We
shows.
don't drink it.
Oh yes. None of us drink at fair
No one
anymore.
drinks
It's
at fair.
against the rules if you work at fair to be drinking.
I mean, technically, it's always been against the rules.
Well, I don't work at fair, so I can drink.
Yes.
I employ a
That's
stunt
right.
member. Her name is Courtney.
Yes.
You're not even allowed to drink if you buy the alcohol there. I think you're allowed to purchase
No.
the alcohol.
I will say
No?
I am not a better performer when I drink,
No.
so I tend to not do it anyway and not examine the rule too hard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think you're not allowed to bring alcohol. If you purchase the alcohol from the Renaissance Fair itself, and then you are, I think, are allowed to.
That's just like liability stuff. I get it.
I will tell anyone who's at a table with me, if you bring me alcohol, you don't get bennies, but I do like you more.
But yeah, I think it was like fun. Like it was my friends. It was something that was like we were just talking about. It was 4th edition, so I was really familiar with how. Oh, hey, okay, I'm a warlock. I'm a caster. I made a warlock specifically because I was a warlock in our World of
That's
Warcraft
right.
guild.
That's right.
And I was a big DPSer for our raids.
Melted faces.
I did. I melted so many faces. Just like massive on the like damage thing. I loved it.
Yes.
But so that was like something I felt really comfortable with. So I even named her Adina, which is the same as my World of Warcraft character. And yeah, it was something I was very familiar with, and it was fun. It was neat. And then I remember we'd been playing for a little while, and there was like one session, and I don't even remember what the conversation was anymore, but it ended up being, and it was long before we started recording APs, but that was a massive game. There was like 8 people playing that game. It fluctuated between like 8 and 10 people at any time.
Yeah.
But there was one night where we had like no combat. Bruce's thief had done something kind of shitty because Bruce's thieves always did something kind of shitty, but it always came back around and kind of helped everybody in the end. So we all like trusted him with that. Like you have to trust the shitty thief player, and we trusted the player, and his thief was shitty, but Bruce is not shitty, so it always turned out fine. But I don't even remember what it was. But something happened, and Tappy and Stork and I, like in character, ended up having this like pseudo argument conversation thing that just was like enthralling. And it was just like this massive thing, and we all like got done with it finally, and everyone just kind of sat back on. Whew. And then I was like, oh, this is fucking cool.
Yeah.
And like
Oh, it's fun.
like there's a thing like when you have like Stu and Stork and Tappy who are all like hardcore role players, like nod, like you did a good job. Like I was like, I can do this. Fuck yeah. Like, I don't know. It was just like this cool moment where I felt really validated, and like we'd had this moment where we kind of lost, even though we were friends who'd known each other for years, we got past that for a few minutes and we forgot, and we weren't the friends anymore. We were our characters.
Yeah.
yeah.
And that when that clicked, that was really interesting. And then when that clicked out and we were all able to go like, yeah, that was so cool. Like as friends back again, that was just an incredible flip experience. It was just really neat. And that's when I was like, okay, I want to stick on this.
Hell yeah.
And I'm in.
And I'm in. And then shortly after that, we started the podcast and stuff. So that was like the moment that I just like felt it click. Like this is a thing that I'm staying with.
Yeah, one day a therapist will unpack why I need Stu's approval so badly.
Yeah, I mean, I've got dad issues. It's fine. So many. But yeah.
But yeah, it's actually fun, it turns out, role-playing with your friends.
Yeah.
Fucking wild.
Yeah, my first game was when I was 5. We went and we were visiting my cousin in Minnesota, and I think just to like keep me and my brother busy or something, he like brought us into like I don't know what the room was for. I can't really remember the room except that I went back recently and I was like, "Oh my god, you're in the same house. That's the room I first played D&D in."
Wasn't there a piano or something? Maybe I'm mixing up stories with someone else.
I think
I don't know.
so.
They
But
roped it
he,
off since
yeah,
then,
he
though.
like opened the books and was showing us like the monster manual and stuff. And these are some like real, like this is late 70s, I guess 78. and he was like, "What?" And he made us characters and took us through a thing. I think we killed some goblins or something. And he was like, "We're gonna make." I remember very distinctly him being like, "We're gonna make you a hobbit thief because you're small like a hobbit, and they have hair on their feet." And I remember him like poking his finger on my foot and being like, "Are you gonna have a hairy feet?" Spoilers, yes. Not like Hobbit Harry, but you know, man Harry.
Rapidly updating your wiki feed, though. Now that you've disclosed that.
Yeah. So, and I was just like kind of obsessed from that moment. My brother got the books, and I stole them. I still have them. But I would like just pour over them over and over again. And at the time, it was like, you know, you were just graph papering out a dungeon and going in, kicking down doors, killing orcs, getting treasure. And it wasn't until I had done the Renaissance Fair, you know, because all through junior high and high school, I played stuff. I kicked D&D to the curb at like 2nd edition and was like, I want something that's like more realistic, and I made my own stuff. I made a thing called Lasers and Lizards when I was like 10 years old.
Nice.
Because I wanted a sci-fi version of Dungeons and Dragons
That's so good.
with Z's.
Yeah, of
Lasers
course.
and Lizards.
One Z and then lay.
Yes, that's actually it exactly.
Because Z makes everything cooler.
Yeah,
It
does.
does.
Yeah,
It does.
And if you're that old, that's how you think laser is spelled, because that makes that sound.
I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie, I am this old and I still sometimes forget how to spell laser.
Well, I won't go into that.
It's always a huge letdown when it's an S.
I have a whole thing. I know, it really is.
It really should be.
Yeah, a group of guys or a guy that I played, you know, gigged with out at the Renaissance Fair, Dane, was like, "Hey, we have a gaming group, and I wanted to know if you wanted to join it. We play Champions, superhero game." And I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds fun." And I'd never played before, and he gave me a pre-gen that he had made called Short Stuff. He was a super brick, so he had like massive strength, really great defenses, but he was also like 4.5 feet tall, green with a flat head, and I just decided he was an alien, but he was super into pop culture. And with that group, that was the first time that we would have like big, like you were talking about, Kimmy, where we would have these big role play moments.
Yeah.
And at the end of many nights with that group, we'd be like, "And that's where we're gonna leave it for the night." And everyone would go like, "Oh shit," and like lean back in their chairs, and we'd need to like just breathe for a minute, and then
Decompress.
you know you're out at your car with your friend, and we're talking until like 2-3 in the morning sometimes, and I was in that group for like 5 years, and that was some of the best role playing I've ever done. And that was like, okay, this is what I want to do. This is way better than like kicking down doors and fighting orcs and
Yeah.
the stuff I did in junior high was hilarious. One of the guys that I played with back then would make these experience dungeons. So you'd step on a trap and it could be like 10,000 experience points or gold or And they were just like random squares in a
Like
dungeon.
Mario boxes, you hit it on your head with your head, and
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm stealing that. Not for like to give people experience, but just the thing of like, it's trapped, just figure it out. Like, it's basically Tomb of Horrors, but like
Yeah.
better.
Exactly. And it was like,
Rewards you too.
yeah, because there was so much like save or die back then, and then there were also save or die, and then Running Man came out, and so he devised these dungeons where we would ride these like carts down like a chute, just like in Running Man, and you'd get experience. And then like once we went through one of those dungeons, we'd have enough experience to go out and do some actual adventuring, and we'd always like kill an ancient red dragon on our first adventure, and then we'd be able to go out and do what we really wanted. And instead of just like being like, oh, you have a bunch of gold and you start at level 10 and we're just going to go out and do stuff. Like we had to go through this weird
Experience shoot.
Yes.
experience shoot.
I love that you
enjoy
mentioned
the ride.
like the decompression like afterwards.
Yes.
Like sometimes after you have like an amazing game and you're like ending at like 9 or 10 whatever, and you're just like so ramped up. It's the same as like if you've ever been in like when you were in high school, if you were in theater, if you were in like football or any sport or whatever, like the high you get after a big event, and it just takes you a while, and you just have to talk about that event until your teenage brain like chills the fuck out, and you're like, okay, I'm ready to sleep right now.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you mean teenage brain? Because I still do that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I need to
Yeah.
count from a lark.
I can't sleep
Yeah.
Friday of LARP because my brain just doesn't shut up.
Right. Yeah. It's just like the coolest feeling. And I think, I don't know, I think that's one of those quintessential feelings that everybody who's played a TTRPG, not every session necessarily, but gosh, there's just some amazing nights where you're just like, I can't sleep. I have to keep thinking about this. I want to go plan right now, or I want to do this, or I want to write up what happened, or I want to just, let's all talk about it forever.
Yeah, I was a little art kid, so I have so many notebooks of like, this is my OC, do not steal, and like
Yeah.
all of our adventures from D&D, and like, it's not. It's patently not cool.
See, I wanted to be that person. Like, I'm the person who buys the perfect journal, and it's like, okay, I'm going to chronicle our D&D adventure in this. And by the second page, and then it's empty the rest of the
Yeah.
Oh no, it was never a chronicle thing. It was like math homework would also have
yeah.
like my characters all drawn on them and
Yeah.
stuff. Like, yeah, no, I did not do well in school.
No, me neither.
I used to do the thing where we did like Yahoo Groups role play, like tech stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And so I would be in class and I would look like I was taking notes, but I was actually handwriting my next post.
Yeah.
Doing
I've done that. Oh,
quite
man.
studious, yes.
Oh, yeah. I spent so much time in class, like, designing and writing stuff about elven lore for my role-playing guilds and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Amazing. It's
Absolutely.
all gone now because all of the websites are like old and gone, and I'm just like, I
Oh.
should have like saved copies of that.
Yeah,
It was
I-
really good.
Created a game in high school that I called Desertlands. And it was all about post-apocalyptic world that had been killed by a war between the gods, and you were running around, and then and it was just a post-apocalyptic role-playing game. But then when I started playing Champions, I was like, oh, how cool would it be if they were like superheroes in this world were like, you know, the offspring of these gods and stuff. And so they did that, and that was like probably one of the darkest, most hardcore campaigns I've ever run.
Wow.
Because also like as a TV writer, I tend to want to like, as we're ending one thing, I'm seeding the next thing, so
Yeah.
there's no downtime. you're constantly being pulled into the next thing.
Yeah.
And like they had to come up to me at one point and be like, just let us enjoy. Just until next session.
You needed a beach episode.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but like I needed to let something end
Yeah.
before ripping them into the next
Next
thing
thing, yeah.
through trauma.
Yeah.
Give them a chance to have that decomp. The characters need to decomp. Just like a little.
Just a little bit. Just enjoy what they've done before they get it snatched away from there.
In my Thursday night D&D game, my character will always negotiate, like, we need a day at the spa if we're going to kill this dragon for you. I did get that. I got my day at the spa.
Nice.
Now
That's
we're
so smart.
Yeah, now we're like fighting a ghost ship. I'm like, you guys better have a hot meal for us when we get back because we're literally walking across
bar
the
is so
ocean
low.
to get back to you. No. Give
My
us a hot meal.
my Wednesday night group, when we first started, I would say every fifth adventure was just the food adventure. Yeah. Where I would be like, oh, and you go into this place or you go into this whatever, and they've got, and we all just start talking about the kind of food that everybody's eating and drinks and all that. And one of the guys who's just not a huge, no, I can't even call him that. He's a huge foodie, but he's not into that in his game.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's just like, are we going to just do another whole night on food?
Yes, actually.
Yes.
Get
Maybe.
cultured.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, I feel that way about shopping. Like, I get super frustrated with, like, in-game shopping, unless we're doing it, like, for a purpose. Like, okay, there's something we need to find at this market that's gonna, like, you know, be the next clue or whatever it is. Like, that's different. If it's, like, literally just, we need this gear, like, I hate, like, having to do that at the table. I'm like, please do
Me
that
too.
Yeah.
in between sessions.
fun.
I always tell my players to do that because, like, I don't want to have to look up the prices of stuff. That's my least favorite thing
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is to, I don't know, 10,000 gold pieces, okay?
Yeah, aggressively shallow Clara lore is that I don't do any equipment managing in any game I ever play. Like, I literally pay an assistant in my LARP with fantasy money. I literally, like, I make my partner do it in Guild Wars. I have made, like, Kimmy do it in TTRPGs we played, I think.
Yep.
I made Bill do it for Traveler. I'm so bad at like, knowing what I need for a character that I would rather go without than have to figure it out. So I always volunteer in, like, games to run the beach episode for my GM. I'm like, let me just do your stupid game. We will have a festival. We will go to a hot spring. We will eat food and we will play volleyball.
Yeah, it'll be
like,
fantastic.
it will be good.
Yeah.
All right,
It'll
I'm
be,
contacting you about, like, because I need more, like, downtime episodes.
Literally go to the beach or have a festival.
And play volleyball.
Right.
And smash a watermelon.
yeah.
Yeah.
Also, make up a fun side character whose whole thing is the beach festival thing. Because I've walked in, so my roommate is in Courtney's game, and I've walked in on her playing her, like, side character that they do when she runs their beach games.
Oh, I was just thinking of that too.
His name is Big.
He's a crab. Big crab is. I think it's like an Aussie accent.
He has an
or
Aussie
something.
accent, but none of us can really do one.
It was
But, yeah.
great.
I stole it in whole cloth. It's so much fun to do, especially if you're at a table. I think it's a nice thing to give back. And if you're at a table and you want to learn to GM, or you do GM, and I think it's, like, a nice way to kind of, like, take the weight off of another of your GM's shoulders for just, like, a little bit.
Yeah.
Where the stakes just don't matter.
Yeah.
Totally.
My buddy Brian, I needed a break for just, like, a week, and he was like, oh, why don't I run? But instead of, like, running a different campaign and stuff, I'll just run this one. My character will be absent, and you can play in it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've never played in my world, and, like, it makes me want to cry to this day.
That's so fun.
I got to play in all games. It's great.
Yay.
Everyone else is just like, oh no, I couldn't run your world for you.
Oh no, I want to. I want to make you. I want to make
Literally
you.
why I make it is
Yeah,
so people can play in it.
That's why it's on the internet.
As a game designer, the nicest thing that anyone's ever said to me is like, "Hey, do you want me to run your game so you can play it?" It's like,
It's all I wanna
Jason's
do for
always good about
anyone.
that. And then when we were at Big Bad Con, a woman named April who designed Thirsty Sword Lesbians, like, she played in Starscape, and then, like, she turned around and she's like, "Do you want me to run this for you so you can play it?" And I'm like, I love that you liked it enough to want to run it. I have a flight like 45 minutes. It was I was so crushed. I was like, if there was any way I could postpone my flight in this moment, I would do it. And I'm so sorry. This is literally my rolly bag that I'm walking towards the exit. But soon, next time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so great, and it means that they like your world or your game or whatever enough to want to do it so you can experience it too. It's like the biggest compliment. It's great.
Yeah. And then one more thing on just the exhaling at the end of a game was when I was in Minnesota for a couple of years, I took over a game, and none of the guys in there had played before, including the guy who started the game and was DMing the game. And he and I were going home, and he was like, all I want to do is play. And I'm like, all I want to do is DM. I don't even like playing that much. Like, and he was like, can we switch? I'm like, yeah, I'll totally take over.
Amazing.
And then to watch them, like, as we would, like, go out to the parking lot after the day and watch everybody by their cars just talking about it and, like, being all lit up. And I was just like, this is the best.
It's always the biggest compliment when someone's like, I enjoyed what you created. I don't really run games, TTRPGs but what I used to do is I used to write shows for the Dungeon Master show, which was kind of like a LARP on stage.
Yeah.
And I had one friend who was always very critical of the shows, and they'd say what was right, what was wrong. And then one day, I wrote a show that I was really proud of, and they came up to me and said that was the best episode I've ever seen. That means so much coming from you. Thank you. Compliment game makers on the work. Compliment your storytellers. They will love you. It's the nicest thing you could do for them.
And also bring them drinks.
We're also full of anxiety, so please just tell us we're doing good.
100%.
Yes. We all have imposter syndrome.
Imposter
God,
syndrome.
yeah.
All of us.
Speak for yourselves.
Well, fine.
Most of them I'm different.
All right, mailbag number 1. Who wants to read it? Ready, Ingy, go.
Priority.
All right. Avast ye Empress of Organization.
I picked-
Tis I, Captain Kurt, writing you from the steamy confines of my bold rat hot tub on this final evening of 2023. The hot tub is 104, and surrounding air is 7 degrees, nearly the difference between a Pasadena high noon and a chilly midnight. It's been an incredible year of gaming for me, from a dozen plus players in a local gaming group, my lovely partner running her first game ever in a Strixhaven campaign, getting to play and run games in incredible game days and JackerCon events, getting to finally meet many of you fine folks in person at Big Bad Con.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Getting to meet and game with the father of Apocalypse World, Vincent Baker, and finally, just now, getting to play 4 different games this week. So much of these amazing experiences come from the inspiration I have found being a part of this incredible community of the past 14 years. Thank you. Thank you.
I love you, Kurt.
Mwah. My question. The interest from new to the hobby folks this past year has been at an all-time high. Mainly, the focus has been on learning how to play D&D, but my question is applicable to all TTRPGs. What are the critical components of playing a TTRPG for the first time? Which aspects should new players definitely get to encounter, and what are things that can be tossed for a single intro session? I've found even most quick starts still require prior existing TTRPG knowledge. How do you engage players in only 2 to 3 hours? P.S. Join the Discord.
Ooh, I just did. Like 2 weeks ago, finally.
No, Kurt wrote this. He actually had another part, but I sort of spliced 2 of his emails together because he sent 2 at once. Thank you, Kurt. We appreciate it. But his topic for the first one we'd already talked about. He was like, please recap. And we'd already done that as a topic. So sorry about the Franken email, Kurt. Thank you for writing 2 emails in. We appreciate it. Yeah. So what are other than our first experiences, like if you're running a game or you're sitting at a table and there's someone there new, like what do you think that they must have? What do you think you can help with ahead of time? There's so many things.
I think the most important thing to start with are just the basic rules and make sure that they understand what they're doing. Because for someone like me who has social anxiety, I literally had a panic attack when I played Seven Wonders for the first time at a con. So I'm with a bunch of people. I don't know them. I cannot figure out how the hell to play this game. And I had to go off to the bathroom and cry for a minute because I was just really anxious about it. So I think make sure that your players feel comfortable with the system. Be like, these are the different types of dice. For a combat, this is how combat works. You're going to roll a die and you're going to add this. Or, in a role, if you're just doing a role play scene, you might just be talking and then I might ask you to do a check. Well, here's what the check is. Make sure that they understand just the really basic rules and start simple. Make it more complex as you go. And maybe don't play a mage right away.
Yeah. I think the different die types is really important. That's something that as gamers we forget.
Totally take it for granted.
Yeah, most people...
Every time people are like, oh yeah, here's a D8. And no, that's a D10.
Yeah.
I literally used to line them up on the carpet as a kid and be like, D4, D6, and like all that, and then I'd mix them up and set them out
Stack
again.
'em.
Yeah, most
Yeah.
people in the world
Mhm.
don't realize there's anything but the D6 like casino dice.
Yeah.
Like nobody, they have no reason to know otherwise unless they like had a really creative
Right.
math teacher.
Which I once referred to as a D6, and my friends all nerd.
And
I'm like, damn right.
almost every system now, unless it's like Hecka Indie, has like a cheat sheet. You can probably find one online.
Yeah.
If you're playing D&D, cheat sheets exist for very basic actions and rules, and they often have all of the dice listed on
Yes.
them
Yeah.
in little silhouette or something for you to place them on perfectly where
Yeah.
they go. Having a cheat sheet, my favorite system, PBTA, often has the like hunter moves or like the player moves and the GM moves, and I love having that because it gives people a menu that they can choose from. So when
Yeah.
they get anxious, because I think the scariest thing you can do to a new player who's never played a TTRPG in their life, maybe never even heard of one, is give them an open world and then just go like, figure it out. It's Zorch now or whatever that
Those
game is
work.
What do
called.
you want to do?
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
do anything.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
There's nothing worse than when someone's like, hey, what's your favorite song? You're like, I don't actually understand how music works anymore. I've
What's
never
the
heard a
music?
song in my life.
Yeah, I can't think of a single one.
Yeah.
It's like somebody's like, sing a Boggart song. I don't know any
I
Boggart
don't know
songs.
any.
Yeah.
I mean, that whole like the cheat sheet thing you mentioned, that was something that we really wanted to have in Trinity's Wake, which is the Mage 20th anniversary edition that we're playing on this channel. But there's no cheat sheet
That's
for
different.
it.
It's made.
It's made.
No.
But Pooja was saying like, I wish there was just a cheat sheet that told you like those little basic things, and it's not there. So I think that's kind of brilliant. Luckily, Adam is very easygoing with the rules. They'll explain what we need, and we're like, thank you for holding our hands, because none of us know what we're doing in this system.
In fairness, if Pooja gets angry enough, they will manifest a cheat sheet. They've done it before. I've
Yeah,
seen them do it.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. And something that goes right along with that is bring a ringer. Somebody who
Oh, God,
really
yes.
knows the system, and sit the new player next to the ringer. Because like if I'm running, I got a lot of shit to think about. The ringer's going to take a lot of heat off of me. So.
Yeah. I think though, like, especially like for non-stream games, like having the new player sit right next to the GM can just make them feel better. Like they can just like lean over and, hey, what do I do here? And that, I think even if they end up like talking to the ringer more than the GM, just having them sit next to the GM can be really helpful.
That means the GM can like look on their sheet and be like, actually, you have
This one, yeah.
Like, it is nice.
I think what you're saying about the PBTA games is important, and I love that more systems are having that now. Like for D&D, even you can buy cards that have all the different things, and it's just
Beyond is such an asset.
oh my yeah
Oh my god.
yeah. If you're running D&D, I know D&D Beyond is like a subscription thing. I kind of hate that part of it, but it really does.
All my
streamline.
players use it for free.
Yeah,
So,
yes.
mhm.
It really does streamline things so much for players. So that's huge. And then you can play in person with it too. Like have it like on tablets or computers or whatever. Even if you're playing in person, you don't necessarily have to use the rollers. You can, but even just clicking on things, it explains all the different things. If there's like a little like bubble that pops up explaining what everything is on the sheet.
Yeah,
So
if
that's
you have,
huge.
Channel Divinity because you're a cleric, and you're like, what is that? And you click on it and it will bring up a little side panel that has the full explanation of it.
Yeah, so even if you want to like roll your dicey click clacks, like you can do that and still use like the digital version because it does. The explainers are so amazing. When I was playing D&D, I don't play D&D very often. It's like a running joke how often I play D&D because it's like every 2 years I play for a little while. And then I remember why I don't really play D&D very often because it's just not my bag, baby. But yeah, I don't think I'll ever play again without having that interface on D&D Beyond because when we played the game over pandemic, it was just so easy. Like I was like, okay, I'm a little rusty on the oh, there we go. Like it didn't matter that I hadn't read it in like 3 years.
I have purged a lot of my how to play D&D knowledge because there's a thing now that so now I can commit it to vampire.
Yeah,
There you go.
Which I need much more.
yeah, absolutely.
So something I'd also like to touch on with this topic is, you ever notice that when you have new players, or when you're mixing like new players and vets, you have like the person who steps up and does everything, and then you have the person who's the wallflower, and then the person who does okay. What I advise is, and I do this as an actress, like you have to be aware of how much is the other person engaging with me. Like if I notice that Clara is not talking much in the game, I'll be like, hey, Claire's character, like, what do you think of this? Like, do you want to try, like find ways to ask someone else to try to do something. And don't just make it just about you or the one player who does everything. Like try to find ways to encourage those players, to make them feel important, and that like, yeah, you can do this even if you're brand new.
Oh yeah, that like one of the questions, like what do the new players need to encounter? I feel like really easy easy way to shoehorn in an encounter. Have the players negotiate their finder's fee or whatever their quest is going to be. That gives you a chance to give everyone a chance to talk, or give that like whatever the thing to do, whatever the call to action is. Have the players give the players the moment to like negotiate it.
Yeah.
Because negotiations are so easy to do as RP.
Yeah, and if you can like I came up with like, okay, I'm going to do this adventure for this group, and then I'm like, okay, and who do we have here? We got a bard. Okay, so what if I made it so that they don't like adventurers in this town, but they love a good song and dance. And so if you want to get this job, you're going to have to song and dance.
A musical
You
number.
know? Yeah, and this player jumped at that. That's the reason she played a bard. And then another one of my friends, it was her first game, and she was like, so she kind of like was watching and like, I'm not really sure what to do. And they're trying to figure out this thing, and she's playing a druid. And she's like, I want to go down by the docks where this whole thing went down and see if there are any cats. They're goddamn right there's a cat.
Now they're
Goddamn right she's
Yes.
going to talk to the cat.
Yeah. That cat can talk back to you.
Exactly. And now it's her familiar. Like think about what they want as their fantasy for that character, and then give it to them.
Yeah.
Let them do it.
Especially just little stuff like that. Like, you don't have to let them win at everything. You want there to still be challenges, but really look at the character they made and why they made it. Because, like, they might not remember that they fought a bunch of stuff and did it, but they're going to remember that musical number that they sang in that tavern to make that town like them. And they're going to remember that cat forever.
Yes. The
Forever.
Cat, my name is Toby. Well, that's what the humans call me anyway. My real name is Destroyer of Worlds.
People remember funny moments
Oh my god.
and
yes.
like scary dramatic moments.
Yeah. And really personalized ones.
Yes.
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 Like if you tap into what about that character, like why they made that character, like it is so meaningful to them. Like it's just really interesting. Kind of going back to that first campaign, when I was playing that warlock, she was a cleric of the Raven Queen, which is kind of she wasn't really a warlock. I don't know, it was a thing. But it was basically inspired by my World of Warcraft character. But I made that character to be very much about balance of life and death. They fucked up the Raven Queen lore later on, because at the time when I started playing, they didn't really have any, so I got to make it all up.
Nice.
So she was very like balance of life and death. Like death is part of life. It wasn't all evil, like everyone needs to die. So Stu did a really great job of kind of like having that balance of like, when there would be moments where I could have maybe saved someone, but then it was like, no, this is what's meant to happen. And it wasn't evil. It wasn't like, no, I love people dying. It was like, no, this is their time. It was sort of inspired by anybody who Dead Like Me was like one of my favorite shows.
Oh, yeah.
So I love that. It was sort of not like kind of goofy like that, but like very much like, hey, this is part of what is a part of the world. So that was very much inspired to me.
That's the goddess of death in my world.
Yeah.
Do you want to work with me on that?
I would love it.
Yes!
I have so many pages written for that. But that was very much like what inspired it. And so, but there were great moments too where I don't know if Stu planned it or if it was just like Tappy's character was a cleric of Bahamut, and like very like so like we would like get friction all the time between our two characters because of our differing views on things. And I would sometimes get upset if people like saved someone, like used a bunch of magic to keep someone from dying. If it was like not a player character usually, but like if it was like, I'd be like, oh, this is a good NPC that they could have died and it would have been interesting. And it's like, no. And then I don't know. It was just
It was
great.
the time.
Yeah. And like, it would have been really easy to not lean into that very much. And leaning into that made that character really, because that's what I wanted with that character. Knowing that as a DM really made the experience really special.
Yeah.
So picking out those small things.
Great example.
Yeah. And just pulling that there. So also I got to mention Dead Like Me, which no one ever talks about anymore. And it's so good.
It's so good.
I love the show.
Your new player session does not start when everyone sits at the table. It does start a few weeks before. If you're me, it starts about 3 hours before everyone sits at the table. Where you get to reach out to your players and go like, what do you want? We talk a lot about having session zeros for our games. That's a great time to make sure everyone knows how the game works. But it also is a good time to get the information of like, what are you looking for out of a game? What did you imagine for your character? Because it is hard to cater to the things that players want to do when a lot of players who come into a game don't always know what they're about until they inhabit the character anyway.
Yeah,
So,
you can write as much as you want on your character, but until you get it on get that character on their feet, you do not know what they're going to be like.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a brand new player. You may not even know, you might write a big backstory and like have no, it's so hard to like explain or like understand what it's about till you're there doing it.
Yes.
It's like Ren Fair is a great example of it. Like all these weird experiential things that make no sense when you just try and tell someone what it is until they are there themselves.
Yeah,
and they're
or
like,
even
oh,
like
this is cool.
watching an actual play is only going to give you like the surface of that. It gets so much deeper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Courtney and LARP, and it's like, I cannot explain to you or take a single photo of what it looks like and how it feels as a comparison.
No, yeah.
And you especially deal with people making new characters and entering the game for the first time.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of part of what I do for our LARP is approve backstories. And one of those things is people come up to me with like pages and pages of backstory. I'm like, I love this. I love that you fleshed out this character. I promise you don't just give me a high concept and a low concept, Fate style, because you're gonna get in the world and it's almost not gonna matter.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna be new, you're gonna get new experiences, and that's going to inform who you become.
Yeah.
And no one's going to want to sit there while you explain your 3 hours of backstory.
Yeah.
Only the NPC that I sent out specifically to
right.
listen to your
Sent those
backstory
out.
because you love to talk about yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great example. Like, honestly, like what works for LARP works for TTRPGs.
Oh yeah. Bring in easy RP NPCs. Bring in a storyteller who wants to hear a sad story. You're done.
Yeah.
You did it.
Oh yeah.
You got 50. Do you have an hour to kill? I need to hear a sad
Yeah,
story.
you know somebody.
rogue.
Yeah, you know somebody who's like put just blood, sweat, and tears into their backstory. Have somebody ask them who they are, where they're from, why they're so sad.
Yeah.
Why are you so sad?
Why-
What's that
Why are
like?
you so sad? One question I got recently from a friend of mine was, I'm afraid to play. I've turned a couple people down because I'm afraid I'm going to piss off everybody at the table. And I want to say, your friends are inviting you because this is such a unifying experience of joy. And they want to share that with you. And that's why you're there. You're not going to piss everybody off.
Why are
and if you
they
do piss
scared?
anybody off, send them to me and I'll kick them in the dick.
No. Why are they scared they're gonna piss people off? though? 'Cause
Yeah.
that scares me a little bit.
That's possible.
As a-
Because she
they-
doesn't know the rules.
Okay,
Because she
that's
doesn't know what the
different.
dice.
Oh,
No,
okay,
that's
okay,
super
that's
different. That's super
That's
different.
what-
Anyone who gets mad at you for being new at something is a shitty person.
Yeah, that's-
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is super different.
Yeah.
If someone is like, hey, we don't like your play style, and your response is, I'm just kind of an asshole, and you go,
That's
you,
what my character would do.
that's what
Yeah.
my character would do. We've got a problem.
Yeah.
But no one.
Not
Yeah.
not knowing the rules is definitely not gonna ruin anyone who's worth your times.
Yeah.
Like
Everyone starts at some point.
Yes.
Everyone starts new and not knowing what the heck they're
Yeah.
doing.
And then there's people like me who can't remember the rules. So every time I sit down is a new experience and I will remember it. Even when I'm GMing, I'm like, I have to like crash course all the rules right before the session. I'm like, what? Okay.
And we give advice on this show.
I mean, that can be good advice. Like, if you know you have a shitty memory, have the cheat sheets ready, go over it. When I was running One Ring, I literally had like pages of cheat sheets and stuff that I had found to remind myself of different things. Because I can remember all the Tolkien lore because for some reason that's all sealed in my brain, like all the ages. But I like, what dice do I roll for this right now? Okay. Yeah. By the end of the thing, I mean, we it was a 25 session campaign, so it was pretty good. But the first little bit was a little rough with the rules, but amazing. It got good. Eventually, when I do something enough, I remember. Yeah, it just takes a little while.
Unless it's Exalted. I could never remember how to form a dice pool in Exalted every week. Just I'm like, well, what do I roll this?
Yeah. Yeah. I might anyway. My next tattoo is gonna be like all of the rolls for like every game I play now. Just like this hand is Dungeons and Dragons, this hand is Vampire the Masquerade, and I never will forget how to play this game.
My brain, like, once the rules gets in there, I'm so good with it, but it's getting it inside that locked case.
Once it's there, it's forever.
Yeah.
But it takes a while to get in there. It's like, I will say also making it super clear, like based on like what you were just saying, like making it 100% clear, saying it out loud at the table and telling the new players ahead of time, it is okay to stop and ask questions.
Yes.
And it's okay to look stuff up. I think that's a big fear, that what you were describing, Ingy. A lot of people are like, I don't want to like stop and mess everything up by asking questions. It's like, no, like
I'm going to ruin everyone else's games.
Yeah, no.
No. We want you to be here because we love you and we want to share this with you.
And if you are really good at planning ahead, plant someone to ask a question before them.
Ooh,
like have someone there. Like I do this with my classes. Like or I'll like the first week or two, like I'll be like, it's okay, I make mistakes too. If you catch a mistake of mine, like writing on the board or whatever, you get a blue slip because those are our little like tokens in class. So I'll actually purposely make mistakes the first week.
Nice.
And see, like kind of build up that bravery for a student to like point out that I made a mistake. Like I'll misspell something or I'll leave a word out when I'm writing on the board. And eventually, it usually takes a couple days. Like the first time, you just see them all like kind of look at each other and nobody says anything. And then I'll be like, oh, I made a mistake here. I wish someone had pointed that out. And I like go in and fix it. And then it slowly warms up to like, okay, then the next one, like there's always like some kid who's like, oh. And they raise their hand and you're like, yes, you left out the word the right there. Oh, I did. Here's a blue slip. Okay. And then like you build that up. So if you normalize asking questions. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Thank you so much. It's great. It helps me and it helps everybody. Good job. So if you normalize it, the same thing we've kind of been doing with like X cards and things like that, showing them and having someone who's braver or is experienced do it first breaks that ice so that new person doesn't feel like they have to be the one asking the first question.
I love that. I also now terrified you're manipulating me all the time now.
Here's a blue slip there.
Yeah. Hold on. I do like blue slips.
Yeah. You can buy slime at the end of the week. It's great. No, you can't. I don't have slime in my classroom. That's a lie.
Clara really wants that.
Hold on. This leads into the next mailbag thing, but I do have to ask, if I GM more, do I get slime at the end of the session?
I will give you slime, yes. Depending on how many sessions you cancel.
Oh, shit. Never getting slime, huh?
I love you. It's okay.
I love the idea of having a Happy Jacks like Benny board.
Giving out little tokens. Okay, you're gonna
Good job.
You get 4 bottle caps if you GM a game. Oh, boy. You can turn it in for a beer if you get 10.
No, this works. No, I think this works.
Token economy. Amazing.
No, I like this.
Clara really likes this, I can tell.
I'm really, really motivated by tiny little trinkets. Mm-hmm. It's one of the many ways I'm just a goblin. Just want tiny little things that I can play with.
Things.
Look, shiny click-clacks.
Yeah.
I know why I got into
rocks.
I got into tabletops because of the math rocks and the math rocks alone. And then I discovered how to work with resin, and I made math rocks myself, and I'm a god.
Yes, you are.
I want to, but then I see how much time and effort and supplies go into that. I'm just like, I can't. I wish it was easier.
Consider get a craft collective together.
Oh.
Like the one.
No, I'm kidding. But like, can you just make dice with this stuff in? Can I just come over and we'll pour stuff together?
It's terrible. Don't do it. Don't get into crafting. It is a bad hobby. You will never have money for drugs.
Accurate.
To rent your drugs, yeah.
So accurate. So much crafting.
You won't have money for dice if you get into crafting.
Yeah, but you'll be able
That's
to.
scary.
I
Yeah.
don't understand people who get one set of dice and then stop.
Yeah, what's wrong with you?
That's
Yeah.
sociopath behavior.
Yeah.
Sociopath.
Or people who have one hobby.
What's that like?
I don't know anyone who only has one hobby, honestly.
It's weird. There are
So I'm certainly not friends with anyone. Just one hobby.
If you have one hobby, it's fine. We love you anyway. We're just kidding.
We love and respect
get
you if
another
your one
hobby.
hobby is TTRPG.
Yeah,
I get
freak.
it.
Yeah. All right. Mailbag number
Mailbag.
2.
All right. Are we gonna have to like roll for it to see who reads this? Damn it.
Courtney.
That's fine. Cold reading, not my specialty. This is Dear Captain Kimmy and the crew of the HMS Happy Jacks. It is I, the occasional host, once and future queen of the Discord Rose. While I may be seething and scheduling imposed exile, know that my heart is with you all uncomfortably close and beating a little too loud. Now, this may come as a surprise, but I have what doctors refer to as attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or as I call it, bees in my brain.
Never heard of it.
Since I usually GM, this hasn't been too much of an issue. GMing is extremely engaging and leaves me little time for my mind to wander. However, that constant stream of engagement lessens when I'm in the player's seat. Now I find that I vacillate. What? I don't know this word.
I signed up for
That's
2
right.
seconds and I've lost where we are.
Anyway, I struggle. Between
Vacillate.
Vacillate.
I
Yes.
found it.
Thank you. I'm learning a new word. What does that word mean? Teach me.
Go. Just
Anyway,
this.
I've had them struggling to focus on what's happening again. What's happening again at the table and being a bit of a spotlight hog. Filling dead air is a useful thing when you're GMing, but is a bit less appreciated when you're a player that talks as much as the GM. So for those of you who also have a head full of bees or play with people who are cranial apiarists, how do you maintain the balance? All the best, Queen of the Discord, Rose. P.S. I'm proud to announce that I'll be running a GM workshop in person for my work at Redacted for My Privacy. I want to thank you. I want to thank the podcast and the community for helping me get this far. I'd never have learned how to be a GM when I got into the hobby 12 years ago without the show and its incredible community. And the class I'll be teaching is a distillation of lessons learned from you all over the years. From the bottom of my heart, thank you all. PPS, cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you, Rose.
Congratulations.
Sorry, I my brain went bleh on your reading your email as it's doing right now.
It's fine. It's amazing.
It's fine.
This is why
Cold
I
reading is
just use
hard.
it.
Cold reading is super hard.
Yeah.
People are always like, like sometimes people are like stuttering. It's like, yeah, that's because we read it cold. It's brand new. We haven't rehearsed it. We haven't. I think
Eyes, brain, and mouth move at different speeds.
they do.
Oh my
Cold
God.
reading is
Absolutely.
very hard.
Especially with all the different styles of writing we get in the emails and the different phrasings and
Yeah.
misspellings.
Learning
and
new
yeah.
words.
And sometimes you have to do the funny voices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I do like doing the funny voices.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the-
Oh, wait,
One of my favorite parts.
but the question is about staying focused.
Oh, yeah.
TTRPG. As you may have
Not
noticed,
falling
we have
victim to your
difficulty
ADHD.
with that too. That's okay. I'm bringing it back.
That
Scale
was
it
fun.
back.
That was perfect. That was so perfect.
You're welcome. I am a professional.
Thank you.
So tips for staying focused in doing what you're doing. Because Clara, you were talking before the show. You had an interesting tip if you're playing
Oh,
on
God.
camera specifically.
If you are a TTRPG streamer or just want to pretend you are maintaining eye contact with the camera, my secret is baby stim videos. It sounds weird when I say it now. Baby stim videos, 5-minute craft compilations, things where people are doing things that do not matter on screen. I put them, if your bandwidth is good enough, I put them underneath the camera and I watch. And so like, there's always, essentially, when people are taking photos of children and they have like a squeaky toy. They're like, "Hey, look over here!" It's that. It does that for me.
Huh?
I'm like, I'm trying. I see my mind wander, and then there's like a little flashing light. I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
And I can look back at it. It's stupid, but it works really well. Kimmy had a really good one for that too.
Yeah, this is legit too. A lot of very well-known streamers put googly eyes on their webcam because
It's my favorite.
it's 100% a true thing. Because our brains are programmed to make eye contact. We have to make eye contact, and our brains are tricked by googly eyes. So you will look at your webcam more if you have little googly eyes, and you will stay more focused on it than if you don't have googly eyes there. So like legit, a lot of streamers won't tell you that we don't have googly eyes here because we look at each other because we're like gaming all together. But a lot of solo streamers or streamers who are alone, even if they're playing games collaboratively online, want to be focused on their webcam, so they put the little googly eyes.
But yeah, there is
Such a pro tip. I love that.
there is no shame. First of all, if you are running a table, and you have ADHD players at the table, it is not a sign of disrespect if they are not looking at you, or if they are doodling, or if they are playing a tap game on their phone of some kind. That is part of it. Like, you can split your brain. I always say that they're like memory slots, and I need a certain amount of slots filled before I can so I can focus on the final one.
Yeah.
I have a lot
Yeah.
of the little like fidget toys.
Yeah.
Not pencils, but I have little cube ones that I really love. Those are my favorites. Like, mess around, you can find different ones. I'm an expert in fidgets. The little poppets are really awesome. My rule in my classroom, I mean, they're kids, so they've got small. Like, you can have a poppet, but it can't be any bigger than your hands, because otherwise they bring the giant ones. That,
Oh,
like,
wow.
I love
Yeah.
the sheets.
Yeah, they have giant sheet ones, but but my favorite are the little cube ones, because they have one side that's like a little like turner. They have one side that's like a little like
clicky and the buttons.
there's a
and
clicky
stuff.
one. There's one that's a little rolly ball,
Yeah.
and there's one that's like a little joystick. That's my favorite one. I like do the little joystick. So those are great, and those are also pretty quiet at the table. I actually used to use those when we were gaming in person before we started streaming. Streaming has given me something else to focus on.
Yeah.
It's been amazing for me, honestly. My focusing at the table is like making sure, okay, voice levels, what we're playing. It's made me a much more engaged as a player. But yeah, that's my personal favorite thing. It's the little cube ones.
Yeah, I have a hard time playing because I'm sitting at my $1,000 distraction machine.
Yeah.
And I have two monitors, and so the game's going on over here, and I start doing stuff over here, and I am completely paying attention most of the time, and then I'll get distracted a little bit and stuff like that, and I don't like it. I was just showing Kimmy I like to use these pencils, and because they vibrate when you.
Really close to the mic so you can hear
When
that
you
clicking
spin
at
them.
the
We can hear it. Don't worry.
All right.
I was gonna say non-sound making squishy fidget toys. I feel like are very important for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, I just play online on Discord with friends every Thursday, and I'm just in bed by myself. I don't have to like be on like on a camera. And I've noticed that if I'm scrolling something where I need to read, my attention just I don't hear anything at the table. So I will browse Etsy because I can just look at the
Nice.
pretty pictures.
Kurt Potts was talking about that too. Is
Yeah.
that gaming and Etsy are a bad
Shopping.
combo?
To shopping because you're not reading, you're looking at the visuals. I also love to do crafting. My GM actually gave me this adorable little needlepoint, so I'm doing something with my hands that requires my focus, but it doesn't require me to like comprehend sentences that are different than the sentences I'm listening to. So that's what I like to do.
Yeah, if I can distract my hands and my eyes, then my ears are free to listen.
Yeah.
I have some friends from another group who knit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
they're
me too.
listening to
Oh,
speakers.
yeah.
I've done knitting, yeah.
During the drop,
Yeah.
I was between ADHD medications or something as well, so I was just having a hard time, and I ended up bringing my like a keyboard for my iPad, and I decided I was just going to become the most studious note taker.
Yeah.
Because if you're taking notes, you can't talk over anyone because you have to hear what they're going to say. So I became like I went full stenographer, and it was just
yeah.
the only way that I could because it was a fidget,
Yeah.
but it forced me to pay attention.
Yeah.
And I couldn't interrupt people.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I
It's
have
hard. Online games are so much harder for me.
me,
Really?
definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I have somebody at my in-person game, and she takes studious notes and then turns it into a first-person story, like observation of what happened. But it also is like all the NPCs' names, like the boats, the
Yeah.
taverns, the goat's name. Like it's really great. So I give her extra XP for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it solves 2 problems.
Yeah. Also, like, I know it's probably not, I am not a medical doctor. I'm going to start off with that. But with ADHD, I focus so much better if I'm caffeinated.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
a
Oh,
bunch-
God, yes.
Like on top of my ADHD medication. So like eat right now, I like big energy drink right before the show. And it won't stop me from sleeping because I'm super powered and I will sleep no matter what. But having a bunch of caffeine and some sort of stimulant in my system, I'm not a doctor. You pick whatever one you want is good for you. Balance, make good life choices. But that makes it so much easier for me to stay focused. If I'm tired or if I am not if I don't have some sort of stimulant in my system, whether it's my prescribed one or whatever, I have zero. It's so much harder for me.
Yeah, on my way here for the Pinnacles game this afternoon, I was really falling asleep, and I realized I have been taking this ADD medication, and they warned me to take it at night for like the first week or so because it will make you tired. And so I decided today was a good day to start taking it in the morning, and after a night of not sleeping very well. And I was on my way over here, and I'm like, oh no, I really need to stop off and like grab a coffee. And I grabbed a coffee and I slammed it. And I don't think I've had that much sugar in a really long time. But I got in here and Sarah was feral and I joined her or them.
Yes.
And oh my God, it was a really great game though.
Yeah, it was an amazing game today. Yeah, all those things. One thing, a friend of mine used to do like origami at the table, which was amazing to watch.
Superstar.
As someone who had ADHD next to them, that was a little hard for me because I was like, wow, I'm sorry, what just happened?
Yeah.
They made a crane. Did you all just see that they made a crane?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, now I can make cranes without instructions, which is cool.
Nice.
But just little like things like that. I think I tend towards more like crafting things. Anything with a screen in front of me, my brain shuts off almost. Even just scrolling pictures of stuff, I get so focused in on it. So that doesn't work well for me. But anything tactile, I do really well. They have these stickers now that they're like kind of sandpapery feeling and they're in different shapes. And you can get them, and you put them in different shapes. There's like little figure 8 ones and there's like a whole bunch of little triangle ones. And I love that. And I can just sit forever and just run my fingers in these little shapes and like count specific numbers of times I tap my fingers in different parts of the number or whatever it is and like keep that pattern going for like an hour and a half and just make sure it's in the exact same order every time. When I say it out loud, it sounds a lot worse than it is.
And no, I feel it.
No, I'm like, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Very much like I am not a doctor. Very much like figuring out what meds work for you when you have ADHD. Figuring out what fidgets work for you is a huge part of exploring how to exist in having that neurodivergence. Like Kimmy's saying, like, having a tactile thing. I can't repeatedly brush something. It makes my brain go crazy. So, like, I need something that is amorphous and squishy. So I have, I kept getting advertised. So I got specs, which are like metal ball. I think I brought them to Big Bad Con and like I split them up and let other people play with them and stuff.
Yeah.
But it was just being able to squish it, have something squishy that wasn't going to be wet and gross was super helpful. But at home I have silly putty and a very squishy cat. And so like sometimes I will hold my cat and squish her and that's different. But like
She's also full of bees.
she's also full of bees. So it does work. But like figuring out what works for you as a fidget is also part of that journey, which sounds crazy when I say it like that. Like, everyone's on a journey. Try a clicky thing, but like they make silent clicky things.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not streaming, it doesn't matter. Especially if you're playing remote, you can just like mute your mic and make as much noise as you fucking want, and it's amazing.
That is true.
Yeah.
And then forget to unmute.
And then, I mean, still, like, yeah.
Oh, but also, if you're on Discord, you can walk around. It's so nice. If you can pace and play D&D. Holy shit.
Yeah, so good. One thing too, your chair matters a lot. I have to sit very high. We have very like adjustable chairs here in the studio specifically for that. I have to feel very high and above everything to pay attention. I don't. Shut up. I know there's a lot of like, I'm sure there's psychological things in that, but it also like with my ADHD helps me focus and helps me like take in all the things that are happening at the same time. Some people I know like sitting lower or like slouching, or if you're puja, I love them, but they like lean.
I do this.
They do, and then I do.
Yeah, and then by the end of any game puja's in is like everyone's leaning.
It's true. It is absolutely true.
If you're listening to the podcast right now, we're all leaning.
Pooja, I love you.
We love you. We love you.
So we lean away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will find the opposite points on a die and then spin it.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
I also have coins that I use for bennies in Savage Worlds, and I will stack them over and over again. That
The
helps.
classic art of dice stacking.
Oh, yeah.
Having they have a whole bunch of different this is like a very teacher thing, but they have a whole bunch of different seats also that you can have like for neurodivergence. So they have these little pillar seats that are on like a little bit of a rocker, so you can rock back and forth. Like the yoga balls sitting on that can sometimes be really great, and you can like little bounce or like swing your legs or
As long as you're not
spin
screaming.
or roll. Like I used to do like the yeah, when I sit on a yoga ball, I always end up doing like this circle thing. But yeah, that's a great thing too. It can really help you stay engaged physically. Yeah, so I don't know. There's a lot of tactile things, not just with your hands, like with fidgets, but also with your seating, the way you're sitting, the way you're processing information. Sometimes actually, if you're at a table, listening through headphones can make it so you focus better. So if you're streaming, it's a lot easier to do that. But, depending on what it is, thinking of different ways to wear headphones or things like that, or filter out other sounds or add other sounds in, that can be helpful. If you have like white noise happening behind you or something like that, can really help too. Like Claire was saying, it's experimenting, finding what works for you, because there are so many things that you can do that would be helpful to you and like really hurtful to someone else as far as they're paying attention. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it's neurodivergence is weird. Again, as if you are at a table and you have ADHD players, separating yourself from the idea that they need to be making eye contact. First of all, you're not making eye contact with them. You're looking at your guide. I promise. Like, you're looking at your notes. But like, if, like I said, like some people just need a frickin' phone game. I play a lot of Sudoku, and it has nothing to do with my GM. That has nothing to do with anyone else. It is fully just like, I can't look at you and pay attention. That's weird. I don't make eye contact. Ooh.
Eye contact.
Gross.
Eye contact, what's that?
What am I, murderer?
Because then you do it, and then you have to figure out how many times you blink. And like, what's a normal amount of blinking for like people?
Yes. Oh my god, I think I blinked too much, but now I can't stop blinking.
Yeah, I never thought
I
of
have
that.
to so
Now I'm going
cry.
to think of it every time. Thank you,
Right.
Clara.
Yeah.
Can they hear it?
Oh, no, stop that. No, misophonia, not okay.
Ruined.
Done.
Ruin the
Rage
podcast.
quit. Yeah, I think that's a really important point that we actually haven't hit on, is clearly communicating that you have ADHD or some other neurodivergence to everybody, but specifically the GM. Because it can be, like we were just talking about a few minutes ago, as a GM, we all have a little bit of imposter syndrome. So it can be hard if you see someone like looking down a lot and you're just like, oh, they're having a terrible time. I'm doing an awful job as a GM. I'm the worst ever. I can't believe this. And then it's like, if you know ahead of time, oh, they're doing that, then you know not to worry about it so much. Just like, I've been talking so much about teaching tonight, but same thing if I know there are students in my class who like have these different things they need with sensory toys and things like that. I actually hand out poppets to everybody on the first day. So everybody has one, even if they don't know if they need one. And some of them throw them away and never use them. And some of them use them for the rest of the year until they wear out and I have to give them a new one. But just communicating that and knowing which kids need that, I know, hey, they're looking down, but they are paying attention 100%. So just knowing that about the players just takes a load off too. And you don't have to try and mask so much as an ADHD or neurodivergent player if you've communicated what you're doing and why to everyone else, because no one's feelings are going to be hurt that way.
Yeah. My last very stupid trick for if you are a GM with imposter syndrome, and you have a game group who's amenable to this or you trust. I cannot, if you're on Discord, find an emote that you all agree is a symbol for like, am I doing okay? It's really, really silly, but like on one of my channels, it is a pineapple, and it's a weird little pineapple guy, and it's something that I can send to my friends. And if I'm having like, am I talking too much? I am having an insecure moment as a GM or as a player, and I need reassurance that I'm not fucking it up. And I don't need it to be audible. I don't need it to be verbal or anything. It's nice when it is. But sometimes, like, we'll be doing something and I'll just send a pineapple, like, am I okay? And everyone's like, you're fine. Everything's fine. You're good. So it's silly, but, like, being able to have that shorthand with your group is also so important. Because it's like the X card. It doesn't take anything away from the game. It just is a way to check in with each other and change and ensure that everyone is having a good time.
Yeah.
Even the GM.
Yeah, absolutely. There's one point when we were playing Murmurs at the Abyss and this is when I realized I'm like, I probably shouldn't do online APs because I was just like really struggling with focusing as a player. I can GM online. I really struggle with playing online where something happened and there's just this painful silence. And it's just like me sitting there going, I think I still don't know to this day because I haven't been brave enough to go back and listen to it. And I just think that I screwed up because there was this like painful silence and all of us were sitting there and the whole time I was panicking. I almost started crying because like, I think someone asked me something. And now I've waited too long to ask if somebody asked me something.
No.
And now I'm just going to sit here and we're all just going to sit here and I don't know what to do. And I'm like calm looking and I'm just like having this inner like, like my soul is just like vaporizing inside of me and nobody there knows. But yeah, so learn from my mistake. Just ask. Like if there's a silence and people are kind of looking around and you're like, oh, I think I missed something. And you pop out of that ADHD, like focus on something else. Feel free to ask. Like it's okay to ask. Everyone at the table, be understanding. Like, I'm sorry, did somebody just say something to me? I know I'm like 2 feet from you, but I was on another planet at that moment. And and I got better after that because I really like made like a point of starting to take notes and some other things that kind of helped me stay focused. But I also realized, hey, online streaming play might not be up as a player for me. So then I like ran things and organized things behind the scenes for most of the pandemic. But yeah, like it can be really scary too in those moments to own up to it and be like, I despite all my best efforts and you being great players and you being a great GM, I checked out for that moment and I don't know what just happened. Can you please tell me? And like having everyone have that normalization of like, that's okay. And it's not a reflection on you.
That's just what my brain do.
Yeah, it's not a slight on us in any way. You're not a bad person. You're not a bad player. Like these are just these things. And I think fighting out against those kind of like old school expectations of like, oh, you have to know your action before it's your turn, like things like that. And yes, that's helpful in an ideal world. That would happen. None of us live in an ideal world. That doesn't always happen.
We live in ADHD land.
Yes. Well, and just even the most neurotypical people have bad days. So just like giving everybody their grace and a little bit of space and like being understanding, like it goes such a long way to having a enjoyable experience for everyone.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I hope we answered that question.
Yeah, did we answer the? I think we did.
I think we did.
Yeah.
I think so.
I think we
I
did.
honestly was not recording the last like. But no, that's not true. I remember.
Yeah, but I think we give a good variety of things. It's also interesting. There's new stuff happening all the time. People are constantly coming up with new ways to handle neurodiversity. So it's something that's constantly changing. Like when I first started teaching years ago, fidgets were not a thing. And then slowly but surely they started popping up a little bit. And it was one of those things where sometimes you can buy silly putty for your one student who might have attention deficit disorder, and it's progressed so much since then. And there's all the different ones, and
That's you like throwing them at children.
I buy them in bulk and I give them out at the beginning of the year.
I'm gonna start doing that. I'm gonna bring a box to a con.
Yeah, you
I'll
can
bring it to OrcCon. It's just me and a box of fidgets.
Yeah, I have a pack of 100, like the nine poppets, the 9 poppets, the
don't
3
really
by
do it
3s.
for me, but now
yeah,
I just want one.
Yeah, they're honestly the reason I give them out is because they are the most cost effective.
I believe that.
On a teacher's salary when you're giving them out away. You pick the most cost effective one, and it works for a lot of them, and then
Yeah.
kind of work from there.
I'm gonna get a treasure chest. I'm just gonna bring it to OrcCon now.
There you go.
Like, here's the fidget chest. Figure it out.
And you have to start a token economy.
And I'll start my token
There
economy.
you go.
There you go.
All right.
OrcCon bucks.
You've come
Yeah.
full
That's
circle.
right. Orc bucks.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
If you
get
say it
kicked.
fast, it's gonna be people are gonna be like, you're giving out orc butts. What?
Orc butts.
Yeah.
That's right.
Orc butts.
I'm gonna get kicked out of OrcCon.
Nah.
Feed around 80%.
Nah, it'll be fine. Jim's a friend. Be like, I know Jim. All right.
We don't take kindly to people with orc butts.
Or do we? We don't judge. We don't kick shame. It's fine.
Oh, I judge because I know that Clara will go home tonight and draw an adorable little orc butt and turn it into a pin.
Yeah.
Do it right now.
You should send it to Jason.
fidget.
Jason is
Yes.
very into orc characters.
I'm gonna say this right now. Of the people I know who play TTRPGs, I don't know that many who are not into orc butts. It is-
Accurate.
Yeah, let's be
Yeah.
honest
Yes.
here.
Muscle mommy orc butts.
The
Yeah,
monster
that's
manual.
exactly what it is.
Yep.
The monster manual is D&D Hinge.
Yep. All right. I think that's a good place to end tonight's episode. Orc butt.
Orc butt.
Thank you for joining us for season 33, episode 7 of the Happy Jacks RPG podcast. Please support our amazing indie designer of the month, Christopher Gray at sunderedhold.com. And thank you to our chat mod, James V, and to our amazing Patreons who keep us ad-free and independent. You can join their amazing ranks at happyjacks.org/Patreon. My name is Kimmy.
I'm Clara.
I'm Angie.
And I'm Courtney.
Don't forget, we are going to be at Strategicon, or OrcCon, Orc Butts.
Orc Butts.
February 16th through the 18th at the Hilton LAX. So come play games with us. It's very fun. Come join our live show, which will be even wilder than this, if that's possible.
There will be orc butts.
Orc Butts.
I cannot guarantee orc
No, we
butts. Okay. Now I
There
want
might
to.
be orc
I'm guaranteeing that you will make orc butts.
There'll be okay. Hold on. There may be orc butts.
We'll see. We'll see. All right. This week, we're going to leave you with a song. We're going to leave you with The Wellerman, but not the famous one from TikTok. This one is by Stu Venable and the Netbusker Folk Shop, and you can find their music at netbusker.net. All right. Thank you all so much, and we will see you next week.
Bye, Becca.
Becca, we love you.
There once was a ship that put to sea, and the name of the ship was the Billy of Tea. The winds blew up her bow, dipped down, oh blow, my bully boys blow. Soon may the Wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. She had not been 2 weeks from shore when down on her a right whale bore. The captain called all hands and swore he'd take that whale in tow. Soon may the Wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. Before the boat had hit the water, the whale's tail came up and caught her. All hands to the side, harpooned and fought her when she dived down low. Soon may the Wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. No line was caught, the whale was freed. The captain's mind was not of greed, but he belonged to the Wellerman's creed. He took that ship in tow. Soon may the Wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. For 40 days or even more, the line line went slack, then tight once more. All boats were lost, there were only 4, but still that whale did go. Soon may the Wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. As far as I've heard, the fight's still on, the line's not cut, and the whale's not gone. The Wellerman makes his regular call to encourage captain, crew, and all. Soon may the Wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. Soon may the Wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go.